Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Compassion and Courage Conversations in Healthcare. I'm your host, Marcus Engel. I am so delighted today to bring to the podcast, our three things that we always focus on this podcast, which is teaching compassionate communication, providing perspective, and inspiring resilience. And today, my guest is going to cover all three of those things. I want to welcome to the podcast Donna Wright, Donna Wright RN. So we'll give a big standing ovation for nurses in the house. Donna, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you, Marcus. It's great to be with you always. Thank you.
And I am so excited because we've known each other a good long while now.
We have. Let's not even get into how long, but it doesn't go all the way back to high school. But come on, we could probably do a reunion.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we've gotten to work together several times on different projects. And so whenever I say that you're a nurse, nursing covers such a wide spectrum, and we're going to get into some of the real brainiac work of nursing in a bit. But whenever you chose to be a nurse, what was the reason for that, and what caused you to seek out this profession whenever you were choosing what you wanted to do?
Okay, do you want the real answer or a made-up one that sounds good?
I'll take. How about both? Because we are all about the narratives here. Right. So.
No, I mean the true answer was I thought I wanted to be a scientist when I went to college. And when I realized what scientists did, it was really boring and you're in the lab by yourself. And I'm a people person. And so I got to college and they made me take the Strong Campbell interest test to see what I was maybe leaning toward. And it came up, two jobs came up, nurse and pastor. And I said, I don't want to be a pastor, but nurse, I said, I don't want to be the secretary to the doctor. And they said, oh, it's not the secretary to the doctor. I had not a clue what a nurse was. And it was a nursing instructor who said to me that nurses are scientists of human response. And I went, oh my gosh, okay, that sounds awesome. Well, tell me more. And I actually kind of stumbled into it by accident. But I was meant to be a nurse. I'm curious. I'll say that a lot. I'm so curious about how people respond to things, whether it be, how long it takes you to pee after surgery. I mean, that's part of nursing. But also all the things how the pandemic has influenced people, our mental health and well-being, just group dynamics and how we get along with each other. I'm fascinated by all of that. So that's how I got into nursing.
Well, so you go back to nursing and pastoring. I think of those two things very much in the same wheelhouse, all showing this genuine human compassion for other people. And I love what your nursing instructor said again. Can you humans?
She said nurses are scientists of human response.
Scientists of human response. That's a beautiful, beautiful definition. I love that. So what did you want to do whenever you first went to nursing school?
Well, I was just really fascinated by the science part of it. I loved anatomy and all that kind of stuff, and I wanted to get into surgical services, and I just loved all of that. If you have cancer, how do you respond to it, and what will drugs do, and then what all the mental things that go on with it. I just love all that, and frankly, I have a degree in nursing. I also have a degree in family sociology and a degree in adult education. So I'm kind of wrapped around all of that to kind of shape who I am today. But I've worked in just about every corner of healthcare. I was in the float pool for a while, which means that every day I came to work, they'd send me to whoever needed me, 27 different clinical areas I could go to. And that just gave me a huge view of healthcare. Sometimes I floated outside of nursing. I floated to the lab twice in my career. I've helped housekeeping. You just do what it takes to run a healthcare organization. So all of those things are a blessing to me.
You've got a great history there, and I know that many nurse listeners would also echo that. I've done everything, right? I've done everything from L&D to oncology, and having such a breadth of experience in the world of nursing is just a beautiful thing. So yes, you're a nurse, but at some point you chose to go on and do some things in nursing that aren't necessarily the compassion shown at the bedside. Take us through that next step of what came next and what are you doing now? Because this is the cool stuff that I've been so honored to be with and be a part of, even in some small way, for a decade and a half now, probably.
Yeah. It's a good question because I'm often fascinated now by how we all work together for the common goal that we have, and that's why you and I are attracted to each other to do this work. You know that we have this shared passion that we will, collaborate with in any way we can to make things happen. But I guess my story actually goes way back to the very first nursing job I had that got me to this point where I love working with groups of people and understanding I'll just say it this way, the tribe, the clan, the group, whatever you want to call it. We as human beings have to be social and together, and we can do amazing things with that. But my very first nursing job I ever took, oddly enough, was in Madagascar, Africa. I decided to really leave home. I wanted to go all the way across the other side of the globe. And when I got there, I had no idea what I was doing. I just thought it'd be exotic and cool. And the nurses met me there and asked me this question. And they said, so can you build an outhouse? That was the question they asked me to see where my nursing skills were at. And I said, I've never built an outhouse. I mean, I grew up in South Dakota, but we do have indoor plumbing. And they said, you don't know how to build an outhouse? Did you go to an accredited nursing school? And I went, yeah, I went to the University of Minnesota, really great nursing school. And I learned about cancer and diabetes and heart disease. And they say, well, here in Africa, we do water sanitation systems and outhouse building and stuff like that. So they had to take me out and show me how to build an outhouse. Actually, they showed me 3 different types. I'm probably the only person listening who has a checklist on outhouse building. I mean, and I realized at that point, the skills required to do your job change depending on where you're expressing your talents. So I got very fascinated with the whole idea of competency assessment and how we succeed in our daily work. And so I love going into an organization and saying, what makes you unique and how do we bring out all the people in that organization? Whether you're in Manhattan or you're in the middle parts of Nebraska, what can we do to bring out the best in the team we have? I'm fascinated by connecting those bodies together to make an awesome group. So that very first experience in Africa set me up to say, I am really damn curious about how we connect together and do the great work we want to do.
As long as I've known you, I had no idea that you were such an expert in outhouse construction.
Yeah, yeah. If you need one, I'm there for you.
All right, I appreciate that. Well, so you've had a lot of work in the nursing field, and you're obviously a human being. So one of the questions that I ask every guest is to reflecting on the story of Jennifer, who held my hand in the ER that first night and said, "I'm here." Is there a story from your nursing career or just life in general that's a time when somebody was there for you or that you were there for another?
Oh, wow. I love your powerful questions, Marcus. You're so good for this. Yeah, I would say actually what you just asked me earlier too about where am I now. I work as a consultant with creative healthcare management, and I get the great privilege to work with so many groups. And how did I get to that point where I wanted to transition from what we call the day-to-day practice setting to something that had a larger impact, where I'm supporting health organizations around the globe. And I was asking a colleague that I really respect, we were at a conference, and I said, she had moved to that level, and I said, how do I do that? And she said something that was so good for me. It was so good, and it was full of compassion and truth, and that's what I love about what she said to me. She said, you need to find a topic that you are totally passionate about. Because I was saying, I want to be successful, I want to be a good consultant, I want to have something that people will want to, purchase or ask me to come do or whatever. And she said, no, you need to start with your heart. What would you do? What are you curious about? No matter whether somebody asks you to do this, for them or not, just what are you curious about? What are you excited about? And she said, just live it and just keep going with it and do it whether people say that's great or not, or we love it. Because she says there's going to be a lot of people who are going to want to kind of say, oh, that's never going to work, or whatever. And she set me up for internal courage, and I'm grateful for that, because those first couple of years I had a lot of people say to me, well, that'll never work, or we can't make that happen, or who's ever done it like that before. And someone's once told me, if you're right too early, you're wrong. So you have to be patient as you kind of go forward to change the world. So get ready for that little bit of journey that's hard at the beginning. So I'm grateful for her to just tell me that and say, your journey is not outward, your journey is inward, Donna, and you got to find your passion and then just be okay with that.
Wow, there's several things that you can certainly take away from that. Um, wow, your journey is not outward, it's inward. We often think about nursing so much as being the hands and the care giving parts, right? I think about several years ago in the Rose Parade, I believe it was the Association of Operating Room Nurses had a float that was an octopus, and each one of the tentacles had a different aspect of nursing, a stethoscope in one hand, and but instead of going outward to do the work, you're talking about looking inward, and that's a sign of compassion too for oneself, to be able to actually look inward. How did that play out? I mean, you looked at what you were passionate about. Um, you looked at what you're passionate about, and I'm also putting in I keep coming back to the fact that you've got a sociology background as well, and I want to talk to you about that, because I feel like sociology wires us for compassionate response. We understand other people's suffering, and so as a nurse with that background, how did those things play together to get you where you are?
Okay, well, I think we all have a lot inside of us that we don't always sit and listen to ourselves. I mean, we're not the best listeners to our own stories inside of our head. And again, going back to the days when my daily clinical practice was, with patients every day, and the majority of my clinical background is oncology. I wasn't always in the float pool. I'm an oncology nurse through and through. And I came to some realization at some point that I was grateful for that, because I know that because I was working with people with cancer so much, I live my life differently now because of that experience. I look at the world in a different way. And I say, I'm so grateful for that. So then I kind of wonder, was I in need of something or seeking something by becoming a nurse? Which I think we have to ask ourselves that question. People don't just come to nursing because they want to give to others. We want to also absorb something in us. And I have now embraced the idea, and I'm okay with saying this out loud, that I'm a broken person helping other broken people. That's okay to say. And so I think understanding that and knowing that it fills me up, and I have to fill myself up with things, without feeling like I'm taking or being selfish. It's okay for me to say, wow, that experience transformed me. And so I think, again, that recognizing that the journey starts inward, I have to know myself, know my own brokenness, know that, maybe whatever things we have, and this is where it's hard, we don't always talk about this honestly out loud, but we've all got dysfunctions in our family and in our relationships and other things like that. How can I understand that more about myself? And then that makes me such a better caregiver. I mean, it's just so much better. You don't want to hear somebody say, so let's say a patient has schizophrenia. They don't want to hear you say, oh, I'm normal, I'll help you. No, they want someone who says, hey, I've heard the little voices too, I mean, it makes you feel so much better if someone can relate to the experience. And I'm not saying we have to have every condition our patient has, but I'm saying being real and being authentic, so.
Being real and authentic, and that's again aspects of compassion for ourselves and for others. So you're getting to do this on a large macro scale now. So an organization would contact you or Creative Healthcare Management, and what kind of things what are the ways that they want help? What are things that you all do for hospitals and healthcare organizations, systems that they say, hey, we just need help. We know what we need. How can you help us?
Well, I think we get requests in two different ways. Things where people say, we're good and we want to be better. I love those. And then other ones where we're a mess, come and help us, so that can go either direction. And those are just different perspectives on how we look at things. So those are the general kinds of categories. But in just like the logistics of what we do a lot of work around care delivery, models and organization and theories that help bring out the best in everybody. We do a lot that align with magnet and pathway to excellence kinds of things, and the criteria around that help truly an organization hit those high levels of credentialing and principle driven care. And then we do a lot of leadership development. We do a lot of system things that help with establishing shared governance, establishing competency systems that align with cultural diversity, direction, and alignment that way. All that kind of stuff. So it's the piece of, again, how do we bring us all together with all of our talents to do the best we can? And yeah, so those are the kinds of calls we get. Come and help me make things better. Come and help me work with, cleaning up whatever we need to clean up. So.
Okay, and so there's a lot of stuff there, and for those who are not clinical or in this realm of healthcare administration and how organizations work, please stick with us because there's a lot there that we can that can be valuable to really anybody, because we all need leadership development, right? Maybe we're not a CNO, maybe we're not a director of the ICU, but everybody needs leadership development. I want to come back to one of the things that you said about magnet and pathway. Can you give listeners who may not understand what magnet and pathway, what those designations are, can you give a little background on those? And I'm always so impressed to see creative healthcare management's statistics about how many of the organizations that want and are seeking magnet and pathway end up with magnet and pathway designations because of your help.
Okay, sure. And I'll try to, I'm not our magnet experts in the team, but I can certainly speak to the piece of that. But we have a wonderful team of people that help with this area. And back in the 80s, I can't remember the exact date, there was some research that was started around looking at what made a hospital or healthcare organization be a magnet for really good people to come and to stay. So that was kind of the question that was put out there. And so that's really where that came from, that term magnet, where, what makes an organization great? And you can have one hospital across the street from another, and the cultures are very different, and people want to stay here, but other people leave from another place. So they looked at that, and they did some scientific research around that, and there was some data that started to emerge of what components need to be in place for a really healthy organization. And that ended up evolving over decades, and it got to be the criteria for magnet and pathways. And those are different levels of designation, like the good housekeeping seal of approval for healthcare organizations or something like that. Now it's international, and organizations will go through their criteria and try to build up or put metrics around measuring that they're at those levels, so that they can then submit for that certification, so they get that award that shows that they have hit those levels. So that's in a basic nutshell what that's about.
And so for a patient like me, if we are in a hospital that has magnet status or pathway, we know that we're in good hands, right? We know that we're in good hands. This is an organization that has achieved the highest levels of standard in nursing, and I feel a lot of comfort when I'm in a magnet designated hospital or a pathway hospital. It just gives me a lot of confidence as a consumer to know that the organization that I'm in is recognized for its quality and competency.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Because they want to be there. If they want to be there, then they want you to be there. I mean, it just trickles down. So if the staff want to be there, they want to help you.
Yeah, and you have such a a way about you, and I'm sure listeners can tell this, that you draw people to you. And so I can imagine that those who have gone through with the leadership development and the other aspects of creative healthcare with you are awfully grateful for just the person that you are. I know I'm awfully grateful for you in my life, being just one of the most positive people I know. So thank you for that.
No problem, anytime. I'm here to lift you up, and I ask you to do the same with me, Marcus.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So, usually I ask a couple of random questions at the end, and I thought I'd ask you a couple of ones that I've never asked people before because I feel like I just need to make these more personal. So, you are a nurse through and through, but what career change would you have had in an alternative life? Or do you have a retirement plan that is completely off from what you're doing now as far as what you would do to keep yourself busy?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I mean, I think, yeah. I think, you actually helped me just describe it earlier, and thank you for that gift of just that, when it's not a career choice, like when they said, do you want to be a nurse or a pastor? Really, maybe I'm being both. Maybe I'm preaching human connection, or I don't know, something like that. And that's always going to be a part of me. So that ends up being not a career choice, but just inside your soul, and you find different ways to express it. I love culture. I love traveling to a lot of different countries, and I have worked on 6 out of 7 continents. The more you can give me in that arena where I can challenge my own assumptions that I realize about my own culture, I love to do more of that, which I am making happen too. So next year I'm heading to Australia and possibly New Zealand and doing stuff in Europe and Africa. I love it. I totally love it. So if I can kind of push that a little bit more, yeah, I look forward to that. I welcome that. And then I also welcome, let's go to, the middle part of Oklahoma too, and let's check that out, and let's check out Central Florida and see who lives there, whatever. I love all of that. So I guess I would say the more I can not change my job, but expand it to touch corners that I never thought I'd touch before, I welcome that.
You're a true adventurer. And that's such there's so many studies recently that have come out that talk about how our happiness is linked to the amount of adventure that we have in our life. And unfortunately, I think all of us over the past few years, not having any adventures in our life after being locked down for a couple of years, we are all desperate for that, but that's just part of who you are. And I think that's super cool. I know about your jet setting, and when you go to Australia, I'll be happy to carry your suitcase if you'd like.
Okay, let's go. Okay. Let's go down under.
We'll have to figure out a way to keep a dog from peeing on an 18-hour flight, but whenever we figure that out, we'll get to it.
Okay. Well, hey, I'm a nurse. We can bring diapers.
Oh, that's a good point.
There is a way to make this happen. Yeah.
There is a way to make things happen. Wow. So here's another rando question for you. How, if you could live the life of a fictional character for just one day, what fictional character would you like to embody for a 24-hour period of time?
Oh my goodness. Wow. Fictional character. Oh, there's so many different things.
Have a favorite fiction book?
I do. It's I don't know, but I'm not sure I'd want to live this. I mean, I'm fascinated by the world of Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, and I do hope someday to go to New Zealand and see some of those mountains and pinnacles that are in the movies and all of that. And I mean, I'm a big Disney movie fan, and going into any of those kinds of places where Disney takes you into an adventure, yeah. And then nice. I mean, getting me up to the moon. I'm a I'm a Trekkie, I love to go to another planet. I'll probably sign up when they say who wants to go to Mars. I'll probably say, hey, I'll start the first clinic up there. I'll probably. It would have to be a fictional character that goes on an adventure. Definitely have to be.
And maybe builds outhouses for Martians.
There we go. Yeah.
Yes. That's the after retirement plan
there we go.
right there. So I do ask a question though about what's a nonfiction book? What's a book that's really spoke to you, that's spoken to your soul over the years, or a favorite work of self-development or the like? Because these are going on my reading list.
Okay, well. And I know some of these are already there because, you've shared some of these with me in the past. But I say my two favorite ones that are my go-to ones I give to people, and I've given all my copies off my bookshelf to friends already this week. I'm a big fan of Brene Brown's. I love her work. Sociologist out of University of Houston. She's been on Oprah many times. Any of her books, again, Brene Brown. And then I am a big fan of Guns, Germs, and Steel. And maybe that's the sociology part of me. But it's Jared Diamond, and it's a big book. It's like 1,000 pages. I did read it on one overseas flight. And if you don't have time to read, then I would encourage you just, experience the DVD or online. I think National Geographic's got something. But if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of like, the question that opens up the book is this. A man from Papua New Guinea was good friends with its anthropologist, Jared Diamond, and he asked him, why does the white man have so much cargo? When they come to Papua New Guinea, why do they bring plane loads of all this cargo when I've been here in Papua New Guinea and I have just my machete and this and I survive? Why is there such a big difference? And it just explains the world from a whole different point of view, and I love it. It's really good.
That's very, very interesting. We know that in America, storage units have popped up and doubled and tripled in quantity over the last couple of decades. We just have so much stuff. We just have cargo, as the New Guinean would say. Is that the right term?
Well, I think that's what he said. He said cargo, yes, but it's kind of the whole idea of why do we develop differently on different continents? Why do we have different expressions of who we are? And why? And then there became imbalances because of that. But when you start to see the source of possibly how it evolves, you just go, oh wow, that makes so much sense. And it isn't about any human being smarter than others or any of that. It's just certain ways that the planet, it fits together. It's just very interesting. I'm not going to give you the end of the story.
Well, it's a sociology work, so yeah. I'll look forward to reading that.
Yeah.
And then let's say you have one of these tall mountains, whether it's in New Zealand or wherever else tall mountains are, and you've got the ability to have the world's largest billboard on the world's tallest mountain. What is the message that you, Donna Wright, would broadcast to humanity?
I just say love each other up. Love up the world. I mean, we just have so little time on this planet. Just reach out and comfort each other. We're better together. We are very much. And I'm better for having gotten to know you over the last years, and I'm just really grateful for you in my life. And thank you so much for being with me today on CNC. Thank you. Right back at you, Marcus. Always.
Great. And thank you, listeners, for tuning into this episode with Donna Wright. I'm Marcus Engel, and this is the podcast, Compassion and Courage, where we teach compassionate communication, provide perspective, and inspire resilience. I want to thank everyone who continues to subscribe. And if you like this episode, let me know what you think and drop some comments. And we'd love to have some interaction with listeners. So thank you all so much for being part of this episode of Compassion and Courage. If you want to get in touch for speaking engagements, for audience guest members for the podcast, please reach out at marcusengel.com. Thank you all.